Run You by the Quemis from Warrior Sound 2016. Welcome back to Hybrid Theory. I'm Aurian Archive, and today or this morning rather, we're going over one of my pet peeves, and that is Windows Update and graphics drivers. Now, the most common uh, scream of this is somebody shouting, "My game is crashing. It was working perfectly fine yesterday. I don't know what has happened." And there's been no updates or anything on the game. Well, 29 times out of 30, if you're running an OpenGL application and it suddenly stops working, the problem's been Windows Update. What you need to do is you need to reinstall your graphics drivers. And depending on what driver vendor you have, simply running a driver updater may not be a complete solution. And so first of all, we kind of need to run through this. How do you determine whether or not Windows Update has even installed a driver? Obviously, I've already got Windows Update open, but if you are not used to it, uh, you can just do Start Menu, Settings, right there. Depending on which version you have, there may not be a Start Menu slash Settings. So what you can do is you can hold down the Window key, hit the S button on the keyboard, and the search bar will pop up, and then you can just type in Settings. And there we go. And that'll take us to the Settings app. Then you can do Update and Security. And now we're back to the screen where we're just on. Okay, from here, we can check update history. Now, in update history, we can see we've had some feature updates, we've had some quality updates, and if we scroll all the way down, we see that we have some driver updates. Now we can see here that uh, Windows 10 has, at least on this laptop, installed some drivers updates for HP printer, Samsung Razer Advanced Micro Devices display. Now, I know that this means that Windows 10 on that day installed a graphics driver for the Ryzen 3200 uh, uh, APU, the Vega 3 graphics system in there. Now, telling Windows to not install graphics driver updates is not straightforward. We have our pause updates. It doesn't really give us a whole lot of control. We have view optional updates, which tells us it detects various driver updates that you can trigger manually. Not really an option to turn updates off in there. You have advanced options and where you can receive updates for other Microsoft products. You can gives you download updates over metered connections. Uh, gives you a restart option, gives you update option, more pause updates, delivery optimization, but doesn't actually give you an option to don't install a graphics driver. All right, well, if there's no easily viewable way to tell Windows to not install a particular device or to bypass it, you're just going to have to reinstall an updated driver. Well, how do you find that information out if you don't know? Well, the easiest way to do this for most people is to use a third party utility. I've obviously already downloaded and installed the utility I'm going for and the most recent drivers for this particular laptop. And obviously, I'm in Opera GX. If you are in Vivaldi, Chrome, Bing, not Bing, Edge, using Bing, whatever, the process isn't going to change. What you're going to look for is GPU Z. When you bring up GPU Z, it'll give you something like techpowerup.com/GPU Z. Incidentally, this same link should be in the stream description. All I have to do is go to GPU Z, download GPU Z, and this page might be a little confusing. You want this little blue download box over here, and then you just choose a server, and off you go. Once you download and run GPU Z, and we'll bring it up and we'll run it Tech Power Up GPU Z. This will tell you explicitly everything you want to know about the graphics card that is being in use. And we'll pull it over here on top of the black so you can see it. And you can see that I'm using an AMD Radeon TM Vega 3 graphics. I'm using Casa GPU. I've got tells me the revision, BIOS version, and even tells me the driver version that is currently installed. The most important part here, excuse me, are actually these little checkboxes down here. And here we can see that this particular device is supporting OpenCL, is supporting Direct Compute, is supporting DirectML. Below that we can see is supporting Vulkan, and it's supporting OpenGL 4.6. This last one is the most important part because right now, City of Heroes is not presently running on an OpenGL over Vulkan system. Now, eventually, it will have to go there because OpenGL support is being kicked to the curb. Excuse me while I get a drink of water. And 9 times out of 10, or as I 29 times out of 30, what's going on is that Microsoft Windows Update has installed a driver that is lacking OpenGL components. Now, it may have some OpenGL components, but it probably won't have all of them. And in order to run an advanced OpenGL application, you need all of those components. Now, I don't have an NVIDIA card to show on hand. This is why I went with Tech Power Up GPU Z, because whether or not this is NVIDIA or AMD or Intel or um, SIS Trident, I'm going like, I've got one just sitting over there. It starts with a V. I'll remember it eventually. Anyways, but as you can see here, it's with the ray tracing, the CUDA, and the PhysX boxes. Those boxes will be checked if you were using an NVIDIA graphics card. So the interface will be the same. The information you're looking for will be the same. Well, how do you make this information useful? Well, once you know who made the card, who actually made your graphics chipset, you can do, say, the lookup button. Now, and since Vivaldi is actually set as my default browser, this will bring up a Vivaldi window instead of staying in Opera, and it'll give us a printout here where we can just take this information, copy it, and we can do Radeon 3 mobile drivers. And this takes us, we can see support APU AMD Ryzen 3. We click on, generally speaking, this first top, and I know on the stream that for some reason the capture is freaking out over something on this page, and I don't know what. Alright, and we'll hit that little plus sign there, and now we have Windows 10 64-bit edition, and we see our most recent revision. Now, if you're using an NVIDIA graphics card or an Intel graphics card, this will change. You'll have something else, but either way, you're looking for the most recent driver for your particular graphics cards. Now, once you've got your driver selected, then we can go to our downloads and we can just run our driver installation. Now, most of the time, you're going to get these kinds of problems on AMD graphics cards. And that's because I don't think NVIDIA really submits drivers to Windows Hardware Quality Labs, or at least. Uh, and I am not aware of Microsoft distributing NVIDIA graphics drivers stripped of the OpenGL components. And part of this may be because NVIDIA is much more obnoxious about informing you that there is a driver update. You need to update your driver through the driver software. And if you've gone in for the NVIDIA ecosystem, you kind of deal with NVIDIA being obnoxious. Uh, and that's just commentary on. You see most of this on AMD graphics cards, and there's probably a good reason for that, and we're going to get to it in just a couple moments. So once we're on our install page, we're going to click install. And now it's going to run through the install system. And as we wait on that, and part of this, I think, comes down to driver models, how drivers are actually installed and registered within the Windows software ecosystem. And because NVIDIA plays by their own rule book, I'm not sure that they ever do anything that's to a standard. I mean, maybe it's a standard they made up, but well, that kind of implies to everything NVIDIA's ever done. Uh, okay, while we're waiting on the installer to go, I'm actually going to bring up Homecoming because uh, that one time out of 30, when it's not Windows Update having ruined your driver or your graphics interface, it may just be you have a corrupted game file. Now, if you're in Steam, you probably know how to check file integrity. If you're using a third-party launcher for City of Heroes, uh, in this case we're using Homecoming, you can see this little three dots here, you can just click on that and do verify. And that'll run through and verify that all of the files are exactly what they're supposed to be. And if it's not, your graphics driver being a Pratt, it may be a corrupted game file. So you can kind of do both at the same time. Alright, our installer has come up and the AMD Radeon software is detecting our system configuration. And it's here where we have to be very careful that we select a few specific options. Because one of the things that the AMD Radeon can do is a factory reset. And this is very critical to OpenGL operations, at least in respect to AMD ATI Radeon graphics cards. Simply installing a new driver without doing a factory reset may leave various components of the OpenGL paths, these particular driver bit, the shader core. Uh, if I if you go through the Radeon control panel, you'll see that there's some OpenGL specific options. There are shader caches. There are a number of different features or drivers that may not have been updated. And part of that is due to the Windows system. Because it is not a DirectX component, it may have been held in memory and may not have been overwritten properly. So, what you really want to do to make sure that you get a good driver update is to factory reset, which will completely erase all of the previous components. In fact, this used to be such a problem. Uh, and, uh, there it is. Guru 3D actually ran their own program called Driver Sweeper. And the whole point of this for years was to remove drivers, NVIDIA, ATI, Creative, Realtek, Aegis, Microsoft drivers that were not properly uninstalled or not properly deleted by the Windows installer software packages. And for years, if you were going to update your graphics driver or your mouse driver or your physics driver or whatever, you really had to run a driver sweeper program after you did the uninstall to make sure that everything was gone from Windows. And this is, I I realize I'm coming down hard on AMD and Nvidia potentially here, but it's not really their fault outright. It's just the Gates Ballmer era construction of Microsoft Windows. And some of those problems still exist in the Satya Nadella era of Windows 10 and Windows 11. And Windows 10 and Windows 11 have gotten better. AMD has definitely upped their game. They're now including Factory Reset, which does the driver sweeper task. and cleans out all of those vestiges so that you are starting from a fresh install slate. And you may have noticed, or at least I noticed, that the AMD Radeon software did recommend that I do the factory reset. And so it already had that selected. This is something you really want to make sure you get selected. And then we'll do install, and then off it goes. And first thing you'll see is uninstalling Radeon software, and in a minute or so, it will ask me to restart. And we're just going to kind of hang along for the ride on this one to go through the full. A brief moment when I'm not really sure I want to show my login. So we're probably going to kill this in a couple moments. We'll run through it as much as I can. All right. Actually, while that's running over there, we'll zip on over here. And oh, uninstalling Radeon software. Your display may flicker, and we've actually lost the display export. Okay, wasn't really sure how the capture device would handle that, but we have lost the external HDMI port, which is right. And your system will restart in 1 minute 57 seconds. So we're going to go ahead and hit the restart button and let it run off. Okay, and I think this is the one I'm looking for. There we go. We got something coming up. Looks like I didn't have to worry about that part of the process. Alright, since I'm now waiting on the laptop to give me back a HDMI output that I can work with. Um, there goes the Bluetooth speaker connecting. Oh, and of course, Windows is going to go through an install process. And still going. Let's see if I can. Excuse me. Uh, Display. It may not let me do this. Yeah, it is not detecting another display, so it's probably not going to detect another display until the driver is fully installed. So I'm just going. Alright. Yeah. While I'm waiting on that, just kind of bringing up ticked off Southern Sledgehammer here. A nice tank that needs a bit of a revamp. And if you're wondering about the full recipes, she's sitting on 84 respecs. I'm gonna have to do something with those. And if you need a bit of a laugh, and you might be wondering, what is going on with that build? Well, uh, if I bring up the combat attributes, what's going on was self-evident. Combat attributes, defense, hide power sources. Let's just go find. I just heard a blink, 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 and we're back. So I just found the. Yeah, of course, Discord's going to be. Don't switch. Oh, why no? There was no reason I had a game window over up on half the Discord list. No reason at all. Yeah. And there we go, restarting again. Yeah, and restart anyways. Okay, and I was looking for a relatively fuller mob while we wait for the system to catch up. And logging in. And there goes the speaker. And we still got an hourglass and items are still loading. Here's a nice big mob. Let's walk in the middle. Oh, uh, let's turn icicles off first. Walk into the middle of them. And the entire point of this particular build was to reach incarnate levels of soft cap on smashing lethal. Theoretically, to make this ice tank a little bit more useful in incarnate trials. Did not work out quite as expected. Part of that is due to the amount of buffs, maneuvers, and also, if you didn't know, you can rearrange uh, Discord servers. So if you are, have a bunch of servers you don't want people seeing, you can move those to the bottom of the list and just have a game window sitting over the Discord list when it pops up. Now, of course, you might see uh, various. Some things are kind of popped up, and yes, that is the same Hyperstrike who runs the Richter Mothership raids. All right, so we're all right. We've just reinstalled the driver, and everything seems to be loaded. So we'll come over to Radeon software. And we'll go ahead and open it, and it'll want you to run through. And since I'm on a laptop, of course, I'm going to do power saving. And you can see, obviously, I've spent a lot of time in City of Heroes on this device. And we have a notification up here, and it's just telling us Radeon software news, Radeon general, and performance. Just kind of glossing over some of the things that are in here. And got the settings icon, and check for updates. And one of the things I'm kind of looking for. Okay, that was unexpected. I'm. Did I just get a crash on AMD software? Or was that just a reload? I think that was a reload. Alright, Radeon Chill is turned on. And I think some of these. Uh, and what I actually want is. Right. Oh, that's interesting. What I find really interesting is that a Ryzen 3200U Vega 3 graphics is not going to be able to maintain 75 frames per second in anything with GLX gears. That's okay, and yeah, these are some things you just may want to check after you install at least a new AMD graphics driver, because some of these profile settings are not very applicable. And coming down here, there we see OpenGL triple buffering, and that's something where you may want to make sure that is turned on. And just kind of a quick look through here, AMD FreeSync not supported, virtual super resolution, and this is something that you'll see pop up if you're using a certain size display or connected display, and the AMD software will say like, hey, we've detected such and such a display. Would you like to enable virtual super resolution? Effectively, this is just a renamed, fancier version of anti-aliasing. It's rendering an application at a higher detail level. Say like, here it says, it's, or the example AMD's website is, it renders something. Yeah, I've got City of Heroes open up in this streaming window, and it would say render City of Heroes in a 4K resolution, and then downscale it through the graphics card to actually give you the display at a, say, 1080p resolution. At a 1080p resolution. Theoretically, this gives you more image quality, but it's basically the same thing as anti-aliasing. You're rendering a higher detailed version of the image in order to remove lines, problems, details, defects, various aspects to improve the image quality, but you're just showing a scaled down version of that image, not the image that was actually rendered. Uh, and this can be, there are certain circumstances where, yeah, if you've got a lot of graphics horsepower to spare, it might be useful to turn on. For the most part, I'm not going to call it snake oil. Uh, That is one of those where just call it, just put it under anti-aliasing, because it's okay. Yeah, it's one of these things that just annoys me that somebody comes up with a new marketing tag and it's not really doing anything that hasn't already been done before under a different name, under a different method. And I know that's the different methodology is why things change, and um, I think that's all that's really need to be showed in here. And again, since I don't have an NVIDIA based laptop, really can't show off this process through there. That's how you go through and, in most cases, fix, oh, my game is crashing, my game is crashing. Spin Aurian Archive, and I think I'm going to go find a monster to drink or something.